All right, welcome to this video series. This series is going to be a collection of short instructional films that will help you optimize performance, increase range of motion, feel better by decreasing some pain, and just overall move well like we humans were designed for. It's never fun being in pain, and today's episode we're going to be covering how to use a lacrosse ball in order to achieve those goals. Today, we're going to be focusing on using the lacrosse ball to improve some range of motion and decrease some pain in the foot, the knee, the hip, and then we're going to move on to the shoulder and a little bit of the elbow as well. Those are some typical spots for people to have quite a bit of pain, so we're going to look and dissect each one of those areas as we go. Okay, so the first structure we're going to work on is the bottom of the foot. A lot of runners and other athletes may suffer from what's called plantar fasciitis, which is the bottom of the foot, the connective tissue here, starts to pull at the heel bone, causing excruciating pain. One at-home treatment is to use the lacrosse ball, and what you're going to do is start with the lacrosse ball at the front side of the heel. So that's going to be right here, and you're just going to apply a little bit of pressure, okay? If this is painful, just stay here, and you can roll back and forth gently. Sometimes you'll hear a little bit of crunching or feel the connective tissue starting to break up. That's just scar tissue, so don't worry about it. You can go side to side. If this isn't enough for you, if you're not feeling enough pressure and tension, like there's not enough change being made, you can stand up and make sure that you have something to support you, like a wall or a beam, something to grab onto, and then lightly step onto the ball. And that way you can transfer more pressure onto the ball of the foot, onto the bottom of the foot. And then from the heel, you're just going to slowly work up to the ball of the foot, to the pad. Okay, and again, you can go side to side. And I want you to do this for about 1 to 2 minutes per foot. Once you find a really tender point, you can pause there, and you can start to take your foot and your toes and bend them back. Point and flex. Point and flex. All right, the next structure we're working on is for the ankle specifically. A lot of the muscles that act on the ankle are actually higher up in the leg here. So we have a peroneus group of muscles on the outside. And if you put your hand right down the middle of your shin, you can feel that bone, that's your tibia. So just on the outside, on the lateral portion, we're going to contact the ball here, closer to the ankle. Okay, this is a peroneus tertius muscle, and we're going to be rolling up and down here and side to side. Okay, so you're going to sandwich that between that muscle and the floor. Again, get a solid base for yourself, so that you can keep a little bit of the pressure off until you get really comfortable with applying more pressure, and you can sit back over the ball. And we're just rolling back and forth until you find that point of tenderness. And then you can even take your ankle in a little circle or side to side, or point it up and down. And then again, move to a new location of tenderness and do the same thing. Okay, you can do that for about a minute or two. Okay, the other muscles that act like stirrups for the ankle to move it inward and outward, this is inversion and eversion, is the tibialis posterior muscle. There's a lot of trigger points behind that. So if you can find your tibia, that bone again, and just fall off to the side of it, to the inside, okay, you're gonna be on your tibialis posterior. You can use the ball to just kind of gently apply pressure here and roll in. Again, while you're doing that, while you find that point of tenderness, just simply flex and point the toes, okay? The ankle. Okay, and then finally, the muscle that is tight on probably about 90% of the people out there is the gastroc, or the calf muscles. So you're going to use the ball on the ground here, find the This is the head of the calf muscles, the gastroc. Just lightly apply some pressure, and you can roll side to side if you need to. And if this isn't enough, you can always cross the other leg over it to apply even more pressure. But just start, it's better to start with less pressure than more, because you don't want that guarding reflex to kick in. So find that point of tenderness, and then once you get there, I'm feeling it right here, you can just point and flex the ankle. Okay, and then again, it's really important to go side to side on this, because now we're going against the fibers of the muscle and the tendon, and we really want to break up a lot of the scar tissue that settles in there. And you can work along the entire length of the gastroc. I want you to do that for about 1 to 2 minutes, or as much as you need. Okay, the next structure we're working on is the knee. Now, a lot of us get tightness out towards the side laterally on our knees, especially our thighs, because we're only operating in one plane of direction. Okay, we're always going back and forth. We're never really shifting side to side. So we want to address the structures to the outside of the thigh, and that's the IT band. A lot of people are familiar with that, especially if you're a runner, because that can tighten really quickly if your lateral stabilizer muscles aren't on. But strengthening those lateral stabilizer muscles, we'll talk about in another video. But for today, we're going to focus on where the IT band attaches into the side of the knee. So what we're going to do is place the the ball right where the IT band inserts, just lateral and above the kneecap. Okay, so it's going to look right about there. What you can do is get a solid base of support. Again, you're going to use your forearms. You can put something comfortable down, like a pillow for yourself, and then that lacrosse ball goes right above the knee to the outside. Okay, the more pressure you put into that, the more it's gonna feel more intense. However, just work into it slowly, find that spot, remember to breathe, and then take that knee through some range of motion. Okay, it's important for us to recover a full range of motion, but if that IT band is really tight, we're not going to be able to flex the knee to the full degree that we should. So finding that spot, breathing, and flexing and extending the knee. Then we're going to move to a new spot, rest on it for a little while, and rinse and repeat. Okay, our last structure for the leg that we're working on is the hip. Now the extension of the IT band up closer to the hip is the tensor fascia lata. And that's not a coffee drink, that is a muscle near the hip where it acts to rotate the knee like a long cylinder. Okay, so we're gonna get that ball, we're gonna find the crest of our hip bone, and just underneath that, that's where the ball is gonna lie. Okay, so that looks like this. Find the crest of the hip bone and rest that ball in here. I'm gonna sandwich that against the floor. Again, getting a good solid base of support with my forearms. And then shifting my weight over the ball, like so. Once I find that I'm on that area of tenderness, I'm just going to rotate my leg like a long cylinder. Spin it in, spin it out. Spin it in, and spin it out. Okay, and then you can just gently rock here, making sure to breathe. And you can focus on that area for 1 to 2 minutes per side. Okay, the last structure of the hip that we're working on is the posterior aspect. Okay, so if you find that bony landmark, that's the greater trochanter. Okay, that's part of your femur bone. We're going to be working just behind that, posterior to that. So I want you to find that on yourself, and then just slide back posteriorly, and then you can go slightly upward and superior towards the head, and that's going to be the glute medius and piriformis complex. That's where we're going to be working with the lacrosse ball. So we're going to get back down to the ground, find that area, and we're going to just sandwich it between the ground and the hip. Now you can stay here. Once you find a point of tenderness, You can stay here, or if you want to bring it to the next level of intensity, you can cross one leg over the other. Okay, now this is really going to open up those structures so that you get deep into those muscles. Now the idea is to get right onto those the muscular structures. There are some nerves that run through these muscles, specifically the sciatic nerve, and that can cause a lot of shooting and pain, numbness down to the lower leg. We want to avoid that. So if you're feeling anything radiating and that has like a nerve type of pain, stop immediately, okay? We just want to feel it locally. I want you to focus on doing this for about 1 to 2 minutes per side. And again, just finding a point of tenderness and giving yourself a nice stable base of support on both hands, both arms, and your other foot, so that if you need to, you can take a little pressure off. The last structure we're going to be working on is at the shoulder complex. Okay, a lot of people out there have shoulder issues, whether it be pain or dysfunction or just a lack of motion in that. And a lot of that is stemming from our prolonged postures that we're holding, whether we're sitting at a desk, at our car, we have this rounded forward posture. The shoulder doesn't like to be in that position for too long. So what we first need to do is address our posture by squeezing the shoulder blades back and opening up the chest. Okay, this is going to take a lot of tension off of the posterior structures of the shoulder. Okay, so the trigger points start to develop when these structures, like the rhomboids and the levator scap and the upper trap, are overly stretched. So what we're going to do is use our lacrosse ball, and we're going to find our shoulder blade by finding that bony aspect on the back here, and we're just going to go towards the spine just a little bit. So we're in between the spine and that bony structure of the shoulder. Okay, there's a little bit of meat there. So I'm going to show you how to do this on the floor, but we can also use a wall. You can stand or sit against a wall to get the same effect. So I'm just going to use my own body weight to sandwich the ball against the floor. Okay, and I'm just going to extend my hand up, keeping my elbow straight. I'm going to extend my shoulder up. I'm going to reach like I'm reaching for something, and then I'm going to draw it back. Okay, so I'm reaching, drawing the shoulder back. Okay, and you can just roll up and down the border of that scapula until you find another point of tenderness and repeat. Okay. The second structure that we're going to work on is on the shoulder blade itself. It's the group of external rotators. They're part of the rotator cuff muscles. Okay, this is things like the teres minor and infraspinatus muscles. So we were just working on our rhomboid. We're going to find that bony structure of the shoulder blade, the scapula. We're going to go out just laterally to that. So we're going to find the meat in there. We're going to use the lacrosse ball again to sandwich on the floor, placing it here. And this time the arm placement is different. We're going to keep a 90-degree bend in the elbow, and we're going to start with the palm facing the floor, and then we're going to bring it up to face the sky. Okay, so find that point of tenderness. Rest there for a minute, make sure to breathe, and then rotating the arm so the palm faces the sky. Okay, and you can do that for about 1 to 2 minutes per side. Again, you can use the wall. If you prefer to sit or stand against the wall, you use that. All right, so I'm going to show you what this looks like using the lacrosse ball against the wall. This is going to be the easiest progression, so you want to start here if the floor is too intense for you, okay? Because the more body weight that you have, the more intense this is going to be. So we want to keep less body weight off of the ball and onto the wall here. So I'm going to place it again. I'm going to find my shoulder blade here and my spine in the middle and work right in between those two structures, okay? And I'm just going to roll here. And you can just kind of find that place that is personal to you, And once you find that tenderness, again, you can reach the arm across your body, or you can reach out as if you're reaching to grab an object, and then retract the shoulder and pull it back. And just keep going through those ranges of motion. We want to recover full range of motion so that we have full function. Okay, again, to address the shoulder, we want to open up the chest, okay? And one of the major players in opening up the chest is the pec minor muscle. All right, so I want you to find your clavicle, that's your collarbone here to some people, and you just go below that onto the rib cage. And if you start to poke around, you can find those trigger points or those points of tightness that we're going to be working on, okay? And they all kind of fan onto the rib cage here itself. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult to show you, but you're just basically going to be working below the clavicle onto those rib areas with the lacrosse ball. You can do this against the floor if you have a clean floor. If not, just use the wall, okay? But while we're on the lacrosse ball, we're going to be drawing the shoulder back. Okay, so our starting position is our shoulders rolled forward, and then we're going to draw it back, okay, and just really kind of try and open that up. So it looks like this. I'm going to sandwich it on the rib cage here. My shoulder is rolling forward, and I'm going to open it up. Okay, rolling it forward, finding a point of tenderness, back and forth, and then rolling it back, opening it up. Okay, you can work each side for about 1 to 2 minutes to do that. All right, well, that wraps up this episode. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you learned something educational. Don't forget to apply these things that you've learned on a daily basis, if not every other day, to really maximize a lot of the benefits of these exercises. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and I'll try and get back to them as soon as I can. And you can also email me at the email address below. And just look out for more educational videos that we have regarding some rehabilitation, prehab, strength work, and conditioning as well. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next episode.